welcome to another installment of the Fragments of Silicon Reviews. Two games up this week, and just to notice, both games were only played by Pettyfan and myself. I've mentioned this before, we do strive to get codes for all of our members, but each developer, publisher, combination therein is different. Some will freely provide 4 or more. That has happened before. Some are really stingy about getting 1. It's part of the overall scene, but focusing on the game itself, first up is Crime Girl. So this is a vertically scrolling side-scroller platformer. I want to say in the vein of elevator action, but not really. There isn't a specific game that comes to mind when talking about Crime Girl, which is to its benefits. Mm-hmm. But it definitely harkens back to that age of simple platformers. As well, your goal is you are Crime Girl. I'm trying to remember if she has a name.
I didn't see one unless it was on the Steam page.
There's not really much of a story beyond
Crimea Gerlenstein or something.
Well, it's like you are a crime girl. You have a dream, and that is to steal every emerald in the world. So you go through these abstract towers, ostensibly stealing emeralds. I suppose that's one of my problems with the game's aesthetics. The enemies are random creatures. She's called Crime Girl because we're told. We're not dealing with, say, police officers, museum guards, that kind of thing. I mean, even the old 8-bit games got that kind of aesthetical reasoning down. Like, just play Mappy.
I was just about to say Mappy.
In which you are a mouse and are running from cats.
Right. Or if you want a direct connection, the Bonanza Brothers. It's like, if you don't know what that is, obscure Sega arcade game where you play as a duo of crime brothers. And, it's like you take your Zeppelin and you go into museums and you steal shit. And you have to deal with cops. Like, you see what I'm getting at here. I'm not saying that this is bad. It's just kind of confusing.
Mm-hmm. Like, also, emeralds is an interesting choice, since emeralds are fairly common and extremely large sometimes.
I suppose that is reflected in the game, like, possibly unintentionally.
They look like they're pretty plentiful and big.
Yes. The point of order is, you look at the screenshots, you look at the game footage here, you're fighting skeletons and skulls and
things which are not traditionally seen in real life, guarding jewels or other types of valuables.
Yeah,
well, unless we missed something.
Or in fact doing much at all, usually, aside from just kind of being dead.
And I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying it's kind of bad for the game's aesthetical values here, because exactly how is this crime is what I'm getting at. I mean, usually,
and are we not also dealing with the crime of desecrating graves or whatever?
It's like, fighting ice princesses and these yellow blobs. I'm like, usually when you are taking things from them, it's not considered to be stealing. Not by humans, anyway. Mm-hmm. Point of order is, its aesthetics are pretty muddled. But aside from that, they are fine if fairly bland. Mm-hmm. They've got a clean look, but there's just not much flavoring here. Anyway,
honestly, it looks like something that would have come out on like the C64 to this better graphics.
Possibly. I'm like, I get more of an arcadey vibe. Like it looks like something that would have been in the arcades in the 80s. Like, it wasn't. It wouldn't have been pushing the graphical boundaries even then. But just maybe an NES game. I mean, not surprisingly, that there's a retro skin where a crime girl is dressed up as Mario. Like, anyway, as far as the game itself and the gameplay and all that, it's actually really fun. Like, in fact, I found it kind of surprisingly fun. Like, it's incredibly simple. All your actions are jump and grapple hook. Like, and that's it. Like,
Same button, by the way.
Yes, I'm like, and not surprisingly, you have to use that in a lot of ways. Not just say grapple, but occasionally you will have to grapple across ceiling surfaces, for example. Also, it is your main method of attack. And power-ups are shields. You will find in various chests, and they do have different functions. If they, some of them, like my favorite was the Emerald Shield. Try to guess what that did. Like, it's like Sonic's electric shield. It sucked up all the nearby emeralds. Really handy for collecting the things. There's like the spooky shield. There's the regular shield. There's the fire shield. Each has different like AOE effect, or like the regular doesn't have one. It's just a shield that'll block a hit. And the way you take damage is probably the most interesting and unique thing about this game mechanically, because when you take damage, your life circle actually exits you and bounces around, and you have the chance to recover that, and basically, you didn't take damage.
So kind of like the rings in Sonic, except only one of them.
Yes, and you have 3 of them. Like 4 hit, it's like you lose those, and then the next hit, and you die. It's an interesting mechanic, troublesome at times, as you'd expect, because it bounces all willy-nilly. It's not. It can be easy to get. It can sometimes be really hard to get. Depends on where you are and what enemies are around. And indeed, do be careful if you're trying to collect these, because you can lose more by you are going after one of these energy pellets and you get hit by an enemy. Like, and yeah, like that's the core of the game right there. Like, you scale buildings, you collect emeralds, profits. Like, but it's like, and it's all really tight and well. I hesitate to use the term well designed, because this is procedurally generated to an extent.
Though there is a fixed mode if you want to use that.
Right, but from what I've got, it's like, I can't confirm this because this is one of those games where we didn't have an interview attached to it, so we don't know. But given what I've seen from the design, it looks like it's like Dead Cells. It's stuff that they've designed, but it's all randomly generated together.
Yeah, like, that's usually the best way to do it.
And the things like the enemies and the treasure chest are completely random. I could be wrong about that. That's something, it's like, that's something the developer can inform us about when we send this off to them. Like, and anyway, outside of that, so kind of been dancing around the issue, but so let me get to the game's killer, the bosses. The bosses are awful and should have been not a thing. They are cheap. They are poorly designed. They put me off this game completely. Sorry to say that, but yeah, every time I got to a boss, I got pretty curb stomped due to a few factors. I mean, they're hard, they're bosses, but they've also got mercy invincibility that lasts quite a bit.
Well, you do not.
Yeah, it's like, and yeah, that kind of messes with the flow of things. And, you know, and the bosses are surprisingly difficult. Like that flaming skull. It's like between like you got to keep moving or else you get hit. And even then, like I don't think I ever beat a boss once. So worth keeping in mind. And as far as the main modes go, the towers are not endless. That is another separate mode that you can unlock by getting enough emeralds. And emeralds up your level, and you unlock things. Let's see.
At least they actually do something.
Yeah. Well, there's also the costumes. They're unlocked in a different way. Those are unlocked getting achievements. Getting the Steve achievements will get you more clothes. And let's see. The third unlockable via like levels thing is the arena, which is or the gauntlets, which is survive as long as possible against a endless stream of enemies mode. Fairly fun for what it is, but the highest achievement there is 3 minutes, so that should tell you how hard it is. And there's also there's also a hard version of the main mode that you can unlock by beating normal. Standard unlocks. Like the music, surprisingly catchy, a really funky electronic beat that plays throughout the game. Unfortunately, it's just the one track. So,
good music for doing crimes, as long as you don't mind it being a little bit monotonous.
Basically, it's good stuff, but not gonna, just having one tune there, whatever the tune, is gonna get old after a while.
Yeah.
And pricing. So the game clocks in at $10.
Oof.
Yeah,
this looks more like a $5 to $8 game to me.
Yeah.
That's about the range I'd put it in. Yeah, wait until this is half off. Or get the Helix Fox Games collection, because that's $12. That's 40% off.
Mm-hmm.
And you get another game. I don't know how good the other game is, because we didn't get that and we're not reviewing it, so that's a bit of a roll of the dice, but that is also $9. So you're getting a significant discount if you get both of them. That would be my purchasing recommendation, even though one of these is technically a blind recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
This is just going off prices. If the developers want to send us Ghost Lords for us to review, sure, why not? But until then, Anyway, so overall summation, it's a good little game, but little is where I put the emphasis here.
Yeah,
there's.
Oh, go ahead, Adam. I was just gonna say that, like I mentioned in pre-show, this is one of those. If there was a version like 3DS or Switch, I would look for that instead of getting it on Steam.
Yeah, it's definitely a good pick up and play game, but it's not something that kept me compelled for very long. Like, half an hour was pretty good, for example. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, in terms of play experiences, it works better, when you're on the go than if you're sitting at a laptop or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, I guess on a laptop, that is technically portable. You know what I mean.
Yeah, there are some games that work better in like a full PC-esque experience compared to like smaller handheld games. There's nothing wrong with something handheld. It's just they're a totally different type of market compared to PC Steam games.
I mean, we do take that into account. I mean, overall, it's a solid game, but fairly unremarkable. Like, it's like, if you buy it in that package deal, you won't go wrong. Like, full price, can't recommend. There's just not enough content. There's not enough gameplay. There's not enough meat on the bones to recommend it at $10. Unfortunate, but you got to go with your instincts on some things.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll about do it for Crime Girl. Be sure to tune in after the break, as we'll be reviewing Next Up Hero.